Welcome to Eye on Africa. Thanks very much for staying with us. I'm Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, a Darfur breakaway faction vows to fight alongside the army against the RSF paramilitary force on the other side of Sudan's devastating conflict. The military reiterates its refusal to negotiate with its enemy, even as Washington hopes to restart peace talks in April. Also, a very unusual run on the bank has been rolled back. Ethiopia's top bank recovers most of the $14 million withdrawn by opportunistic customers as news spread of a glitch allowing them to withdraw more money than they had in their accounts. And parts of rural Guinea have almost no girls in school. The country is trying to tackle this huge gender disparity affecting access to education, but it's proving to be an uphill struggle. But first, the US is hoping to restart peace talks in Saudi Arabia over Sudan's devastating civil conflict on April 18th, after the end of the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. Now, it's unclear whether the warring parties themselves would agree, as they've refused to negotiate. The army and the RSF paramilitary force have been battling since last April, triggering the world's worst displacement crisis, pushing millions to the brink of famine and sparking ethnically driven killings in the western region of Darfur. Now, its governor, Mini Minawi, heads up the breakaway Sudan Liberation Movement and has pledged to fight alongside the army against the RSF. This is a worrying development for those hoping for signs that the violence might be abating in the country. Our regional correspondent, Olivia Bizo, tells us more.
Mini Minawi, the head of the Sudan Liberation Movement, a rebel group, has recently published a whole load of videos on his Facebook page. Most of them have been published in the town of Atbara, which is located a few hours north of the capital, Khartoum, in an area controlled by the army. In one of the videos, he made a speech announcing that his forces are joining the army in their fight against the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. He said that all of the military vehicles and soldiers surrounding him are all headed towards the capital, Khartoum, and El Guinea to join the fight. So why did Mini Minawi make this announcement, and why are his forces joining the army? Well, he justified his decision by saying that in the face of atrocities committed by the RSF, he can no longer just stand by and watch. Most of these atrocities have been committed in the western region of Darfur, where the RSF have been accused of committing crimes against humanity and an ethnic genocide. Our team in Nairobi recently published a report about these atrocities, which you can find on the France 24 website. But although Mini Minawi presents himself as being on the right side of history, the army isn't exactly innocent either. Both the army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces have been accused of shelling residential areas, of targeting civilians, and of blocking essential aid. The civil war which broke out in Sudan almost a year ago now has been described by the UN as being one of the worst humanitarian nightmares in recent history.
Olivia Bizo there for us. Now, South Africa's ruling ANC party has failed to disqualify the opposition Umkhonto weSizwe from the May 29th general election. A Johannesburg court has rejected the complaint that MK's name is confusingly similar to a now disbanded military wing of the ANC. Now, it risks dropping below 50% of the vote for the first time since coming to power at the end of apartheid. MK, though, is the new political kid on the block and was only registered last September. It's backed by former South African president and lightning rod for scandal, Jacob Zuma. Now, he was forced out of office in 2018 and recently suspended from the ANC for his support of MK. The party is now looking forward to the election showdown in May.
The ANC have failed. Today they have failed again, and they are going to continue to fail. Their problem is that they can't accept the idea of losing power. They are already out. They must just accept that. And on the day of the general election, we will take them out.
The bodies of 429 members of a Kenyan doomsday cult are being returned to their families. That began on Tuesday. The exhumed remains are at the heart of a murder case that has gripped Kenya about the head of a sect, Paul Mackenzie, who's accused of having encouraged his followers to have starved themselves to death in order to meet Jesus. Several of Mackenzie's associates from the Good News International Ministries were also charged in February with the torture and killing of 191 children. The case has sparked outrage over the dangers posed by unregulated churches in the country. Nearly 15,000 people have voluntarily handed back money that they took from the Commercial Bank of Ethiopia during a frenzied rush on cash machines and online as news of a glitch that allowed customers to take out more money than they had spread online. Around $14 million was taken out or transferred because of the error. Over 500 people, though, still haven't handed over the outstanding cash. Clarice Fortuné tells us more.
It seemed like a very pleasant surprise. Thousands of customers, mostly university students, discovering their bank had stuffed their account. Unfortunately, the result of a glitch at the Commercial Bank of Ethiopia. On March 16th, the news spread across universities, and soon long lines were seen at campus cash machines. By the time the error was discovered, around 13 million euros had been withdrawn or digitally transferred. A total of 490,000 transactions were made before the bank realized there was a problem. It took several hours for the state-owned institution to freeze transactions and to send a warning from the bank's president, threatening prosecution if the money was not returned. A warning that's been largely heard.
From the first day of the incident until March 22nd, we collected 298 million beer. As of yesterday evening, we have gathered an additional 372 million. From the total 801 million beer, we have recovered 78% of it.
Abesano also announced the glitch stemmed from a routine internal system update intended to improve efficiency. It has now been resolved. Although thousands of customers returned the cash voluntarily, those who have not might still be enjoying their newfound fortune before they face criminal charges.
Well, the man set to be Senegal's next president, just weeks after having been released from prison, has addressed his country for the first time. Bassirou Diomaye Faye, whose victory in Sunday's vote sets him up to become the continent's youngest elected head of state, has vowed to tackle corruption and revamp the economy. Sam Bradpiece brings us more from Dakar.
In the years leading up to Senegal's presidential election, the country went through an unprecedented period of political unrest. More than 60 people were killed in and around protests, hundreds of political opponents were thrown in jail, and the freedom of the press was seriously impinged. In his first address to the nation, since winning what looks like an absolute majority at the polls, Bassirou Diomaye Faye, the country's new president-elect, thanked his supporters for their struggle.
While I regret the pain and suffering of recent years, the lives that have been shattered and those that have been lost, I would like to acknowledge and salute our people's attachment to democracy, justice, and equality.
While his critics say that Bassirou Diomaye Faye is too young, too inexperienced to hold high office, the majority of the Senegalese electorate disagrees. He won support with a radical program which involves pulling Senegal out of the CFA franc currency, boosting local production, and renegotiating contracts with international oil and gas companies.
Now, access to education plays a huge part in the trajectory of a child's life. In Guinea, girls in particular struggle with enrolling and staying in class. More than 30% don't even make it into primary school. And for those that do, only 10% finish middle school. Tackling the disparity is proving to be an uphill battle. Our correspondents sent us this report.
It's time for French class at the Saint-Georges High School in the suburbs of Conakry. The mood is serious, with pupils preparing for end-of-year exams. Boys and girls study together. Among the older classes, girls are less and less represented. Kali Camara, the French teacher, said this phenomenon was felt in the majority of the country's schools.
Girls give up. Either they're forced out of school through marriage, lack of financial means, or lack of encouragement. Maybe it's also linked to culture. The idea that girls shouldn't study beyond a certain level. These are some of the difficulties that we face.
Aïssatou, 16, is a particularly bright pupil.
Aïssatou.
Lequel?
Nous avons lequel?
Laquelle?
Laquelle?
Lesquels?
Lesquels?
My favorite subject is history. I love coming to school because I like studying. I feel at ease when I'm at school.
C'est à l'école.
The young woman dreams of becoming a doctor, but was almost forced to abandon her studies 3 years ago.
I nearly missed out on an education because of a lack of money, but an NGO helped me out, helping me to continue my studies.
Aille bien étudier.
Aïssatou was helped by a foundation which helps finance education for girls from poor families. The organisation also fights to change attitudes towards girls' education, noting that girls who don't go to school are 3 times more likely to get married before the age of 18.
Going to school alone is not enough. There needs to be monitoring and input from parents. We don't only track the progress of children through school, we also raise awareness for parents to become interested in educating their child.
The need for this kind of initiative is clear. In Guinea, 9 out of 10 girls who make it to primary school don't continue on to complete middle school.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us, though. Do so again if you can. Till then, take care.